All right, and welcome everyone back to the Rum Society. This isn't really officially the first episode, as there's a bit of technical issues with the other co-host again, and I only have about half of a show prepared for myself. So I'm just gonna sit, chat about a few things. If anyone wants to pop into the chat, we can do a little talking there. But so as of right now, other co-host isn't here. It's just me. I started digging into a particular topic that was interesting me, and it became such a massive rabbit hole that there was so much to look into that it kind of got overwhelming. And since the other co-host not being here, her topic couldn't be broached. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the initial topic that I had, not get super deep into it. I might get deep into it later. And then I'll probably just read a little bit out of my book, Haunted Places of Europe, and we'll close her out. Hope you all have had a very wonderful holiday, Christmas and New Year's. Happy New Year's, everybody. So, the first thing that I wanted to go over as part of the first show, although Cooper couldn't be here with us. Hello, Coheed consumer. How you doing? Hope you had a wonderful holiday. So the first thing I wanted to go over, I was working and just listening to documentaries on my phone. And one of the ones that I watched was a documentary from Iraq before America had invaded. And it was about the Abu Ghraib prison. And it was apparently a very commonly used prison for political dissidents. And they did a ton of torture and execution and stuff in there. And this was well before the American Abu Ghraib prison scandal, which I think most Americans, at least my age, in their late 20s, early 30s, are pretty familiar with. And after watching this documentary, it kind of started to hit me. I was like, is it possible, given that Iraq, that whole area, used to be Mesopotamia, there used to be massive civilizations there, and probably the first civilization, and they've had, even back in 4000 BC, they found Mesopotamian schools that had text in them about how to do exorcism and stuff. So the idea of demonic possession has been around for a very long time, even before Christianity was a thing, before Judaism was a thing, before any of that. And I kind of got to thinking about the Abu Ghraib prison, since so much torture and executions and horrible stuff had gone on there. Is it possible that when the Americans got there, that there's some sort of residual demonic energy, some sort of something that could be possessing them? And I know in the Middle East they're usually called jinns or genies, and I started really looking into it. And yeah, it was such a deep rabbit hole. There's so much to go on, but I'm gonna have to reclassify all this stuff and get it all in one cohesive go, because once I started looking at it, it just got worse and worse and worse. Some of the things that I did find was that jinn possession can be active or passive, and all of the stuff I started reading about, there's a lot of Arabic, which I can't read, and it just seems to be that this region has believed in demonic possession for a long time. And it could be that was my running theory, was so much evil had happened in Abu Ghraib prison that before Americans had got there, that it led me to believe that it's very possible that why some of the American soldiers, who probably were seemingly normal people, ended up doing horrific things, because that place has such a negative energy already about it, that it may have drove them to that. So, thank you for showing up, Cooper. And the jinn, that's how they're, I don't know what to call it. That's what they are called in the Islam and stuff like that. And sometimes they can be good, sometimes they could be bad, and there's I bit off way more than I could chew with this particular topic. I didn't have enough time to get it all done. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I think instead of diving into it right now, I'm just gonna wait, get my thoughts more organized, and make a much better presentation. So yeah, I just didn't want to not stream today because I'm pretty sure Cooper put the word out in a few places. So I just wanted to stream, and I'm gonna try and keep it on this Sunday schedule. So it's gonna be a short one today, guys. I really appreciate you guys showing up. Even if there's only 2 of you, it's not the size of the audience, it's the quality of the audience, right? So I'm just gonna read a few things out of this book, and then we will go from there. Also, Coheed Consumer, my last video that I did, it was, at the end of it, hidden was a giveaway for a book, but the other person who won one of the copies has yet to contact me. So if you want a free book, just drop me an email at wanderinglensmedia@gmail.com, and I'll send you one. So, but yeah, they are essentially like demons in the Middle East, even though there can be good ones. I guess there can be like good demons too, maybe, but yeah, it's really weird. But they can possess people, and that's kind of the rabbit hole I went down in, was a demonic possession one. So, all right. So I'm gonna go over the Screaming Woods in a little village called Pluckley in England. The normal title is The Daring Woods. It's not, obviously, they're not just gonna, we're gonna name this forest the Screaming Woods. So yeah, it's called The Daring Woods, and I had heard a lot about it, and I made a few videos where I kind of solved the mystery of the Screaming Woods, perhaps, but I'll tell you about that at the end. So, the Daring Woods is one of the more well-known haunted locations in the village of Pluckley. And I'm going to stop right here and say Pluckley is supposedly the most haunted village in the UK, and I found it completely by accident because I got lost and I was very frustrated. Turns out renting a car in London is a very bad idea. So the Daring Woods is one of the more well-known haunted locations in the village of Pluckley. Often, the Daring Woods is described as the most haunted woods in all of England. There are stories of a murderous highwayman who was dealt justice by a vigilante mob. Disembodied screams and howls emanate from the depths of the forest. An inexplicable Halloween massacre of 20 people, a colonel who took his own life within the forest, shadow people following hikers, and the forest was also the subject of a scientific study. Needless to say, the Daring Woods is a very disturbing and strange history. Although, while looking for the Daring Woods, I believe I found an explanation for the screaming sounds. The highwayman, called Robert Du Bois, was a thief and murderer who was well known for ambushing people who were traveling around the area. Robert Du Bois would hide in the hollow of a tree, pop out, and rob people. If they resisted, he would eventually murder them. The villagers had become fed up with Du Bois and his violent crimes, and decided to deliver their own brand of justice. The highwayman's hiding location was discovered, and the villagers ambushed the ambushed predator. Du Bois was taken to the Daring Woods, pinned to a tree with swords, and then beheaded. His spirit is said to still linger in the Daring Woods, where he will often spring from behind a tree and give a hiker a ghastly, heart-stopping experience. In 1948, on the morning of November 1st, there was a gruesome discovery of 20 dead people, 11 of which were children, all piled on top of each other. These dead bodies had no external wounds, and the initial autopsies were inconclusive. Several months later, authorities determined the cause of death was carbon dioxide poisoning. During the evening in which the murders had to have taken place, there were reports of unearthly lights emanating from the Daring Woods. These lights, lack of wounds, and seeming abrupt and quick end of the investigation of the murders gave justification to the people who thought that the massacre was caused by something supernatural. Military service and experiences of war can have a lasting effect upon a person. Military service and experiences of war can have a lasting effect upon a person. A soldier's body and a soldier's mind are very much at risk when subjected to the horrors of war. Sadly, service members taking their own lives is not only a modern problem, but a historic problem as well. Deep within the Daring Woods, a disheveled army colonel tied a rope into a noose, secured it to a tree, after concluding that suicide was the only way out. He put his head through the noose and gave in to death's embrace. Currently, the colonel is seen marching through the forest, walking around with a melancholic expression, and sometimes is seen hanging from a tree. Occasionally, he is reported to sneak up behind people. When I went wandering through the Daring Woods, I didn't experience much out of the ordinary. It was rather pleasant, and there were plenty of locals walking their dogs. One woman was even walking a horse. They were enjoying their stroll through the forest. There were areas that looked very dark since the forest canopy was thick enough to block out a large percentage of light, so I could see how the darkness could get someone spooked if they entered the forest with the idea of hauntings, ghosts, and ghouls already in their mind. There were two major things which concerned me about the forest, which was first the volume of trash just scattered around the forest and signs forbidding camping and, quote, antisocial behavior, which makes me think that there's a lot of degenerate people doing stupid shit in the forest. The village of Pluckley is an absolutely lovely area, and the Daring Woods is a beautiful place. Seeing this disregard and lack of respect for one of my favorite places was the only disturbing aspect of the forest. If you end up in Pluckley, please treat the land and the people with respect. So, what's behind the screaming? Well, I may have found the source of the eerie phenomena. While looking for the Daring Woods on a map on my phone, I saw something highlighted that highlighted the likely source of the screaming. To preface this, let me say I've always lived in the rural foothills of the Rocky Mountains of Colorado and have been exposed to the sounds that wild cats like mountain lions and lynx make. When I saw a big cat animal sanctuary on the map less than 3 miles from the Daring Woods, I thought, mystery solved. Big cats make sounds that could easily be described as inhuman, ghastly screaming, and these sounds can easily travel the sub-3 mile distance when there is no significant human development to block the sound waves. There is the source of the screaming in human entities in the Daring Woods. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever heard a mountain lion or a lynx or something like that. It's very, very spooky sound. It definitely sounded like you could think that was a monster or something, some evil spirit out in the woods, especially in England where they don't have big cats. Like mountain lions aren't going to jump out and attack you in England. So if up here where I live in the Rocky Mountains, it's somewhat a common. It's not super common, but you'll hear it. It's not something that's unnatural. So, yeah. Just, if you're in England and you're some English guy and you just got done drinking your tea and eating your scone, and you heard something like that out in the woods, then yeah, that would freak you right out, because you have no idea what it is. So, alright. Up next, another favorite place of mine, the Charles Bridge in Prague. The Charles Bridge is one of the most iconic sites in Prague. Given that construction started in 1357, this bridge is a true feat of engineering. However, like many things in Prague, there is always some bizarre history behind the beauty when you look a little deeper. This pedestrian bridge draws tourists from around the world and features some exceptional historical and religious statues. During the day, there are no shortage of merchants, artists, and tour groups. However, at night, other entities come to life on the bridge. The Charles Bridge has a long history of being haunted by several ghosts, and has even had a visit from the devil himself. The legend states that King Wenceslaus IV decided to dispose of the body of St. John into the Vltava River by throwing the corpse off the Charles Bridge. That night, an incredible flood hit Prague, which knocked down part of the bridge. During the repair process, the freshly repaired parts were constantly being washed away in the night. One worker decided to stick around and see if the destruction was caused naturally or by a saboteur. What he saw that night was more terrifying than he could have imagined. The worker who stayed there that night was greeted by Satan, and he declared that he would continue to destroy the new construction until he took a soul as payment. He was going to take the soul of the first person that stepped on the new sections of the bridge. The worker took this threat very seriously and began to guard the bridge. Sadly, the first person that stepped foot onto the new section was his pregnant wife, who was crossing the bridge to tell him that she was going into labor. During the birthing process, his wife died, and the child died shortly after. Legend has it that the woman's soul was taken to hell, and the child's ghost is commonly seen on the bridge. Hundreds of years ago, European rulers had a nasty habit of public capital punishment. Often these public executions included graphic displays to serve as a warning to the rest of the citizenry. Vlad the Impaler is one of the most well-known rulers to practice this, but Czech rulers did very similar things. Over the course of 10 years, from 1621 to 1631, there were 10 Czech lords who ran afoul of the ruler of that time and lost their heads. Literally. Severed heads of these 10 lords were stuck on pikes and displayed on the Charles Bridge. These 10 lords are known to haunt the Charles Bridge, singing sad songs and attacking the living that look for the source of the singing. If you're walking on the Charles Bridge at night and hear singing, don't go looking for the source. On a summer solstice in early 1600, 27 noblemen were executed for participating in a revolution against the Habsburg royal family. 3 were hanged, and the other 24 were decapitated with a sword. These severed heads were divided into groups of 12, placed in wire baskets. These baskets of unspeakable gore were displayed on the 2 towers at each end of the Charles Bridge, and had remained there until all the flesh had rotted away. When the baskets came down, the heads were just skulls. The smell must have been nauseating. I can imagine the angry spirits of these men may also be lingering on the bridge. So, yeah, I bet people can survive maulings. I wouldn't want to test that. I usually take a gun with me when I go hiking. So, but I guess that's the other thing too. You don't really see it coming. It's not like they usually are ambush predators. They usually sneak up on you, and once they get you, that's it. So, it doesn't sound like it would be very fun, but. Well, hopefully next time we can get some of these technical issues worked out. I need to work a little bit harder on getting them sorted. So, yeah, that's really all I have for you guys today. So Coheed Consumer, like I said, drop me an email, wanderingLensMedia@gmail.com, and I'll send one of those out to you. I'll try and get both of those sent out this week. And yes, I will try to have a much more cohesive, better show for next Sunday. I'll try to have actual episode 1 going for next Sunday. So come hell or high water, there will be an episode 1 on Sunday. So thank you all, and I will see you all next time.